2, 1. Boom. We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. Since our last update, Avalanche and Solana both broke out of the reaccumulation boxes that we are watching, which have put them in and on to the top movements of their accumulation ranges. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, S&P 500, and at the end of the episode, we've got something special for you guys, so make sure you stick around for that as well. It's going to be a bit shorter today, so only about a half an hour. Well, let's just dive in. Bitcoin, always start from a zoomed out chart. It's really easy when you're zoomed super close into your face or to whatever it is that you're doing to get confused and to get overwhelmed. It's happened to me a bunch throughout this process, both investing and trading and just life in general. It's always good to take a macro perspective and to remind ourselves there's time here. It's not the only opportunity. There's options for these opportunities here. So the Bitcoin long-term chart, a few hundred days of accumulation, start of the SOS, and now we're into the SOS and LPS phase. The SOS and LPS phase are part of a much larger trading range. Again, this is why zooming out is so important. We are breaking through some of that resistance now and could be headed towards new all-time highs. Originally, I thought we would get a bit more fluctuation into the downside of around $36,000. The reason being, if you had joined for a bunch of our episodes, I thought we'd kind of run into this $38,000 point at the bottom of this green trend line. But just for fun, one of the reasons why I want to share this is because this is what happened in 2020 as well. So first off, there's a much larger accumulation range that took place here from the very top to the very bottom of the box with our primary supports and areas. Primary support, buying climax, spring, secondary test, and breakout. But again, what I want to point out is there was a secondary reaccumulation range here that took place. And in the very last moments, right after the 2020 pandemic, a spring reaccumulation followed by a reaccumulation and then full-scale breakout. So why is this important? I believe it's happening again. I believe the exact same thing is happening again with Bitcoin and with a few other assets. So now we go back to the full-scale chart. Here we can see Bitcoin, if we imagine again that this is the very bottom of the range and that 60,000 is the very top of the range, something like this. We'll just leave it here. This is pretty good. So just to point these out with the top of the range, bottom of the range. Selling climax and a movement through the box. Now, one of the things I thought that would happen, again, is I thought we were going, and we still might, see a variation in this macro trend where we have a larger reaccumulation take place here throughout the back of the box. One of the things that's different now that wasn't taking place back prior to 2020 was the massive amount of institutional interest and the likelihood of the failure of the dollar. Governments tried to kill people, or whether it was by accident or not. And if you're not safe from your government, you can guarantee that your money isn't safe from your government either. And Bitcoin at this point, I think, is just an obvious choice. The governments print money and give it to their friends, which is corrupt and ends up criminal eventually. You don't need a conspiracy to see how that could take place. And it's taking place right before our eyes, and that's massively decreasing the trust in the system. So what do you trust in that moment? Bitcoin. I think in the next few years, we will see nation-state adoption, and Bitcoin's price will end up in the millions of dollars. My very first YouTube videos, way back in 2016, Bitcoin was at $200 to $300, and I was saying, Bitcoin's going to $6 million, like a long-haired hippie kid walking down the beach eating mushrooms. And it turns out I'm probably going to be right. Now, in that moment, it didn't look like I was going to be right, but now we take a step-by-step basis to this approach here, and we understand that using the Wyckoff thesis and it actually teaches us some very valuable things. Human nature doesn't change. What we're charting here is human nature. So we had a long-term accumulation here in towards the top of the box, and are likely in the secondary reaccumulation range here. Now, again, I could see more volatility coming into this range. I don't think that this accumulation range is necessarily finished. We could actually return all the way to the bottom of the box, and we'll get a little closer now. We'll take a little bit of a closer look at Bitcoin. So just for fun, remembering that I think this is so important too, by the way, is that after the spring, if you see a reaccumulation, oh my God, this is the moment to be entering positions, okay? So spring, reaccumulation throughout the box. And just for fun, let's go back out and show what that looked like in Bitcoin in the previous trading range. Spring, reaccumulation, followed by reaccumulation, and then massive breakout. And we can actually go back through multiple cycles in Bitcoin and find the exact same thing. So for fun, let's go all the way back to the data here. This is 2013 through 2017. This is where I started the YouTube channel when Bitcoin was at just $300 back in 2016. And here, I'm just going to roughly draw this. Top of the box, bottom of the box. Okay. So let's go top of the box like this. Let's go bottom of the box like this. And for fun, let's zoom in again because there are two reaccumulation ranges that took place. Boom. Boom. And a bit of a dirtier one here. And bang, LPS, LPS. So this spring reaccumulation followed by reaccumulation is almost a systematic function. We can find it many places. We can find it on many different time frames. We can find it on different assets. So let's take a look at how well Avalanche has done since we looked at it the other day, and same with Solana. We're actually down on the smaller time frames. In the private group, this is what we were looking at. I pointed this out in the video too. Spring followed by a reaccumulation range. Not just in Avalanche, but also in Solana. So, and not just in Solana today, but in Solana's previous reaccumulation range. So just for fun, we'll use Solana as a bit more of an educational tool here. We'll get back into some of the nitty-gritty with Avalanche. But fundamentally, let's straighten some of these lines out. We can be professional here. Boom. Top of the box for Solana, bottom of the box here. I'm going to point these out. Here's the spring. And I'm going to draw them to I think the roughness is probably fine. You guys don't mind. Top of the box. Let's change the color here. We'll go with red so it stands out a bit more. Bottom of the box. So here's spring. Here's your reaccumulation. So important to understand. This is probably one of the most profitable sequences of events that I've learned in the system. Spring reaccumulation is a test. Just for fun, we'll go even closer and take a look at what happened with Link. Now we're going to look at the 15-minute. Again, this is something that's called scale invariance. It means that you can find the exact same movements within a time frame, regardless of what the time frame is. So whether you're on the 15-minute, the daily, the 6-hour, they become less reliable if you're not paying attention to the larger trend. But let's look at this here. So we were going over this in the private group. We kept seeing large, big sell-off chunks of supply coming in to Link with no reaccumulation, just up, down, up, down, up, down, no reaccumulation. But look what happened here on the 15-minute. This super sexy reaccumulation with a breakout, SOS, and a backup phase. After that completed, we were off to the races. And we stayed like that for the rest of the day. It continued onwards and upwards for around a 10% move. Now, 15% move. Onwards and upwards for a 15% move. There we go. Hold on. So I'll zoom in just to make sure this is clear. Here we are in the 5-minute. A nice reaccumulation range that took place with an SOS and a backup. Very tight range after what was effectively a spring. Very large amount of supply coming in. Now it can be deceiving. You could think, well, maybe this is an accumulation range. You know, we just had a drop and this is an accumulation range. But look how tight this was. And again, this is only on the 5 minutes, so it's not as reliable for as long term as the ones that we're looking at on the daily. But again, spring, reaccumulation, breakout. Spring, reaccumulation, breakout. Solana, spring, reaccumulation, breakout. Same thing happened with Bitcoin back in 2019 and 2017 and 2016. It's happening again right now and happened again. We'll look at it closer on the 15-minute. So the downside is when we're on the 15-minute, is we can't rely on this to be functioning for days. When you're on the daily, then we can get a better approach to what's going on. But if we'll look at the 1 hour again here just to show how this works, because it's starting to become very consistent. Spring, which I got wrong, I thought was actually distribution because this looked like up thrust and distribution. I very quickly reasserted that I was wrong back in the spring, back in this reaccumulation, so fixed it. Nonetheless, when you find out you're wrong, just change your mind very quickly. It's okay. Don't keep being like, oh, I'm going to be right in the future. It's not worth it, I promise. If you realize you're wrong, just go, I was wrong now, not let's see if I was wrong. Like, you were wrong now. Focus on that and then readjust. So I realized I was wrong as soon as we moved back into the box. We started to build this reaccumulation, which was the test. So time and time again, spring, the test is actually a reaccumulation range and then a breakout. Very, very beautiful sequence of events here. Very profitable as well. Happened in Link. If we go out to the daily and we see how we got here on the daily, boop, 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 there we are. So Link's daily chart is super sexy. Again, we're just going to keep going over this. 500 days of reaccumulation. That means we can be positive, or at least pretty confident, that the market makers are not just going to dump on us right now, that this is going to continue to move around for a little while, and we're going to see 500 days of accumulation and likely 200 to 400 days of upcycle market. So what happened? Now, with Link, okay, we saw the first reaccumulation range, and this is where it can be deceiving. So let's point this out just for fun. You could have thought that this was a reaccumulation range here, but again, as soon as it started to break below the box, it clearly wasn't reaccumulation, it was redistribution, and broke up into the reaccumulation. Because again, we could have made the assertion and being incorrect, so that this was the spring. Let's just say it might have been, that this was reaccumulation as soon as we couldn't break above the box. And often it's waiting for the move above the box that is the confirmation, not near the bottom. So entering near the bottom of the range can be difficult, and you really only want to do that once you have confirmations. So for instance, if you go back and look at the last 3 months of videos, we had very strong conviction here. Was not strong conviction until later on in this reaccumulation range. Link is actually one of the strongest assets in the ecosystem right now. It is under the strongest hand control, no paper hands here. And this, one of the things I wanted to point out is on this reaccumulation, or this accumulation into reaccumulation range we saw here, this was effectively the last spring and test, or spring test. This little moment here, this was actually the reaccumulation range. It's very short. Basically acted as an LPS before breakout. And here we are again, a very short reaccumulation range before breaking out. It's likely we'll see some sort of back test. I'm very confident that this is the SOS. We'll see a back test most likely of the top of the range somewhere up here. And we're almost already at that at $19.75. And there's a long ways to go up for Link still here too. So I don't suspect the bull market is done. We're going to continue. I've got the first kind of medium resistance here at $25. It's the market price we set when we were way back down here at 11. I suspect we're going to hit that. If we break through and see new market all-time highs, it really depends on what happens. There's probably going to be a big market volatility moment right around this $25 point. I suspect that's where we get our first big 35% retracement, and we see a larger trading range form here. I thought that was going to happen with Bitcoin now. It didn't. It'll probably happen a little bit later, but it didn't happen now. So we just keep an eye on it, knowing that because the S&P 500 is peaking out at new all-time highs and itself has also not back-tested the top of this range here. We have a nice reaccumulation after decline. And you can learn a lot of this stuff, guys, by going to the Arcane Bear channel. So one of the things that I wanted to do for all of you today is we have all of this data and all of these Wyckoff accumulation ranges. You can probably just screenshot them right now, but nonetheless, if you go to arcanebear.com, arcanebear.com/private, and type in the code Hope You Get Rich, which you can find in the description today, you'll get a 15% discount. The first 10 people to sign up get that. Remember, the sickness of the modern investor comes from over trading, lack of education, and lack of a community that's focused on the same things. Maybe your friends like shoes, maybe your other friends like watches, but you want to be surrounded by a group of people that know how to trade, know how to invest, and are constantly learning and growing together. So we have a 100% money back guarantee within the first 30 days. If you sign up, you don't like it, we'll give you your money back without asking you any questions of why you didn't like it. Although if you would like to tell us what you think we did wrong, most of the time it's just because people realize they don't have enough time to be focusing, and it's just easier for them to invest, or they're in their own life changes, whatever it might be. We understand, and we'll just give you your money back. So why would you not want to take the no risk guarantee? So happy Chinese New Year, Year of the Dragon. Hope you get rich. All one word. That's the discount code for today. It's also fun to type that. So if you haven't typed it yet, go on Twitter, follow us there, and tell someone they hope they get rich today. It's kind of a nice sequence of events. Lots of great reviews from everyone that signed up. So why not try it out? So we'll jump back into the charts and we'll kind of finalize from today. Last day of the family vacation here before I'm kind of full-time back with you guys. My main concern right now is we've had a long-term accumulation, an SOS and a backup, an SOS, and no LPS phase for the S&P 500. I suspect that both Bitcoin and the S&P 500 will follow some type of LPS phase here. We could be seeing it now for Bitcoin. I'm not sure. The problem is we're looking at a 1 hour reaccumulation. When we go back out to the daily, it becomes a bit less clear. Again, one of the strong kind of conviction points we've had in the past was using the Wyckoff method alongside this widening megaphone pattern. I'll show you that one last time. This widening megaphone pattern where you rip up to the top of the box, which we're almost at now, and then come all the way back down to 35,000. I kind of thought we would see an accumulation range here. Just for fun, I'll show you where that's happened in the past. It happened with Bitcoin here. So from the top of the reaccumulation, boo, boo, boo. Something like this. Yes, like this. This is kind of a rough draft. I'll show you on Ethereum as well, where you had points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But again, notice here, this was actually much smaller than I thought it was going to be. Even here, I thought we would potentially see further downside of 14,000 before moving off. So the same thing could be happening right now, is we might not actually come to the bottom of this widening megaphone pattern. So the best bet is just to remain in that bullish sentiment and not try to look for better accumulation prices. We got them, we're getting them right now, and we just saw a spring and reaccumulation with inside the trading range, which is normally very bullish. And we're seeing what appears to be an SOS, but also just to point out with what happened with Link 2, we actually had a really long accumulation range where we broke outside and had these two these two up thrusts that moved us to the top of the box before retesting the range one more time. We could see that with Bitcoin here, especially because if you make this the top of the box, instead we're only just getting back up there. So we could see another retest of the $44,000 range and another small reaccumulation, but we're basically bullish fuck right now. S&P 500 is probably going to continue. Things are going very wrong in the ecosystem. They're going to start printing. They're going to drop interest rates. And all of the asset prices are going to go up because dollars are worthless, and more people are starting to recognize that. So I'll give just a few minutes here to go over and look at some of your guys' thoughts and questions. And that way we can hopefully take a look at one or two quick charts. I don't have a lot of time here before we go out for breakfast with the family, so I'll make sure we're just taking a look at this here. So what's y'all saying? We're live. Awesome. Great to see everyone. I should have asked to make sure that we were actually streaming properly. It does look like that we are. Check the Caspa chart. I don't even hold it. Caspa is really high up, but it's also moving to the top of the box. I looked at this morning. What up, Barry? Great to see you. What is the probability that BTC is in a giant Livermore accumulation pattern that started in December? Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Although, like I shared just a few minutes ago, let's actually look at Ethereum too, because Ethereum also did this back in 2020, and it will give us some more data points to kind of feed our thought process from. it's not always clear that we need to go all the way back to the bottom of 0.7 before we get the breakout. So this is the Ethereum chart. Let's just take a look at what Ethereum did, because again, I think it will be helpful for giving us more data that's not just Bitcoin. One of the reasons why we were so bullish again on Ethereum at the same time frame was we saw, again, SOS, reaccumulation, breakout, reaccumulation. And even here, it's looking like at that last part of the reaccumulation pattern, we don't come all the way back. We didn't come all the way back for Ethereum back in 2017. So I do suspect that what we're witnessing for Bitcoin is probably the last LPS range before we go on a full-scale breakout. It's sooner than earlier, but there's more bigger, more intelligent investors here than ever before. And I think that what we're going to see here is basically the same thing. This last little bit of reaccumulation does not come all the way back down to the bottom of our Livermore pattern for 0.7, and we just 0.7 comes halfway through the box and just goes parabolic from there on out. It happened in Bitcoin as well. So if we go back to the Bitcoin chart that we had drawn up all the way since all the way since 20, yeah, there it is. Here we go. Have not changed this at all. Let's see how it's doing. Haven't touched it, haven't edited it. Yeah. Hey, actually 0.7, I mean, okay. So when I drew it, it actually hit pretty perfectly. So I was off. I drew this is how I was drawing it. I was like, well, apparently 30, we hit pretty much 36. We hit the top of this primary support range. I thought we might spring a little bit below it to 36, but we didn't. I love that this chart hasn't been touched and still is holding pretty much perfectly. But based off what we just saw with Ethereum and Bitcoin previously and a few other assets that we took a quick look at, this next little LPS and SOS phase, that's it. That's all we get. That's maybe only another 2 months of a kind of choppy sideways. Yeah, basically another 60 days from here to there before we have a full-scale breakout again. I don't have too much time to look at more questions today because it's my last day with the family. We're going to go get breakfast, so I'm going to cut it short. But I'll be back with more live videos here over the next 2 weeks or so. So remember, hope you get rich. There's only room for 10 of you. We'll see you guys again in the next episode. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to like and share these videos as well. It really helps. I didn't make videos for almost a month, so YouTube doesn't like me. So the more you guys comment, post it on Facebook. Even if no one listens to you on Facebook, post it there because it helps the algorithm out. Help me get back into helping other people try to understand what's going on in the world of charts. Oh, and just for fun, just as a kind of a last little bit here, notice my drawing again that I drew all the way back in 2020, our widening Livermore pattern, and we didn't come back to 0.7. So maybe let's not think we're going to come all the way back to 0.7, okay? Maybe I was getting a little bit overzealous thinking we get to 0.7 for $36,000. It didn't happen with Ethereum. It didn't happen with Bitcoin last time. We basically ran to the top of the reaccumulation widening megaphone right from the spring and then went fucking ballistic. So I think we're going to see something similar today. We're hitting 0.6 and basically have already completed 0.7. So it's just something to keep in mind. Anyways, with the Arcane Bear. We'll see you in the next episode.